What, you have a podcast?
Really?
Computer, show the historical documents.
It's just time for a theocratic monarchy. King Trump, for life. Let's go.
I said, no, Sean, I'm going to be a dictator. I said, in 4 years, you don't have to vote.
Hello, friends and enemies, and welcome to another episode of Recovery from Politics podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Freeman. Today is Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024. Yesterday was one of the most depressing and truly sad days I've experienced as an American, and there have been a lot in my lifetime. I grew up, with Bush as president, as an adult anyway. When I was a kid, it was Reagan, Bush, and Clinton, and yeah, things were weird and crazy, but I didn't totally grasp what the fuck was going on back then, and quite frankly, that's really all that's going through my head. So, in case you don't know what was going on yesterday... okay. In case you didn't know, reducing Chevron deference to a pile of ash wasn't quite enough for the Supreme Court, so they also lifted any and all limits on lawsuits against federal agencies. There's no longer any statute of limitations. If you're a brand new business that wants to build your building on protected federal land, even though you're a new business and Walmart tried and failed 20 years ago, you can sue. If you lose, you can sue again. Walmart can even come back and sue again. Everyone can just keep suing over and over again. We all know government agencies are overworked and their legal departments are busy. We just gave career procrastinators and delay tacticians a new tool. Billion-dollar companies will now be able to spend unlimited resources trying the same cases over and over until either the government settles favorably, quits altogether, or they win in a friendly court. There is no longer such a thing as a final say when it comes to suing federal agencies. There is no longer a Supreme Court on this matter, because even in the bumblefuck worth of 9 piles of slime, all argue the agency is correct. The billionaire class could just sue again, and again, and again. This isn't something to help the poor working man. You have limited resources and time. Eventually, you will run out of both. But corporations have godly amounts of money and are immortal. They can fight a firebrand liberal lawyer until a favorable administration comes in power and fires them. And you think, well then, our tax dollars will have to increase the budgets of these agencies to combat the coming onslaught of cases. You would be right for a while. But then there will be an emergency. And just like your public school system, they'll need to pull that money from somewhere. And it certainly won't be from the military. But maybe you're not here to listen to me rant about the end of the administrative state and the welcoming of our new corporate gods. Maybe you're here to listen to another rant about a different sort of coronation. Many experts, especially like David French of the New York Times, who still actually thinks the 6 of the Supreme Court justices are just swell people, thought Trump's immunity deal was being delayed, at worst, to prevent any meaningful action from taking place before the November election. The fix was in, it was just degrees, At this point, that was the best case scenario. They waited until literally the last day of the session, so there are no more Supreme Court decisions till next year, okay? So that was it. July 1st, last time this is going to happen. And they would say, look, President got some immunity, obviously, but a coup to overthrow the government clearly isn't that. We remand the case back to the lower courts for clarification or some other legal jargon. And there were some obviously more moderate takes suggesting that they'll find Trump immune for his specific crimes, but they're certainly not going to go much farther than that. They're not fucking lunatics. Friends and enemies, let me introduce you to the craziest bunch of fucks the Supreme Court has ever held together, because they didn't just declare Trump immune from criminal prosecution, they declared all presidents forever are immune to fucking everything. Now, Kyle, you're saying, they didn't actually say that. You're right. You're right. They said a president cannot be held criminal for any and all official acts. But they didn't stop there. They didn't define what is an official act. At all. They didn't. But they ruled that a president talking to any staffer, from the secretary who brings him a fucking Coke to the national security advisor, is in itself an official act, and therefore cannot be used as evidence to determine a president's state of mind or intent. If that's a little confusing to you, I had to read several examples. The best one I got was this. Remember how after Trump lost the election, numerous staffers and high-ranking officials went into the Oval Office and told him to his face, "You fucking lost. It was a clean and fair election." Remember that? It came out during the January 6th Commission. We have these motherfuckers on tape. From the Attorney General at the time, Bill Barr, all the way down to low-level staffers. I forget her name. But it doesn't matter. All of them, every single one, were in the room and they're like, yeah, he said it was a clean and fair election and he lost. And I was there in the room and I heard it as a staffer. All those witnesses, all those firsthand accounts cannot be used against the president in any legal case because just by speaking with those people, it is an official act and therefore cannot be used in any court in America. Even if all those people go on TV and scream to the American people, "We told him to his face what he is doing is not an official act," it cannot be used against him. We have to take the president's word for it. Try prosecuting any fucking crime without witnesses. Everything will be protected under official acts and executive privilege. And as Sonia Sotomayor mentioned in her dissent, is the ordering of an assassination of a political rival an official act? No. But ordering the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff to execute that order is an official act. And therefore, no one who heard the president give the order can be called as a witness on any stand in the United States. She subsequently mentioned that the same scenario but with a military coup. Remember the reports he tried to order the military to seize voting machines? That's now considered an official act. Of course, fucking Thomas had to weigh in, and he brought a whole new level of fuckery to it. Jack Smith is a special counsel to investigate Trump. He was appointed by the Attorney General Merrick Garland 2 years too fucking late. Thanks a lot, dickhead. But, per this new immunity ruling, Jack Smith may not be constitutional. Thomas suggests the entire idea of a special counsel is unconstitutional. At best, his reading says it might be okay if the Senate confirms Jack Smith, but since that hasn't happened, the entire thing should be thrown out. Was Trump asking for 11,000 more votes in Georgia an official act? Of course not! But the phone call to Georgia's Secretary of State is an official act, therefore the phone recording and the Secretary of State himself cannot be brought in to testify against the fucking president. See how fun this is? We have literally created a catch-22 for the presidency of the United States. Can the president order the murder of an American citizen on Fifth Avenue? Of course not. But the order itself was to one of his staffers, which is an official act. Therefore, essentially, there are no witnesses in a court of law that can prove any of it. By the way, if you need something comedic to lighten your things up for you, the book Catch-22 is actually funny as hell. I was made to read it way too young in high school. And a lot of it went right over my head. It doesn't help. I was in an honors class at the time, so they had these, I think, dialectical journals, and it just took all the fun out of it, man. Like, every 2 sentences, I had to write something down, and it just completely removed the immersion into the story. But reading it a year ago as an adult, and especially having been in the military, I was just laughing my ass off. It's a really good book. If you need to lighten up, over these summer months, go for it. Also, there's a BBC production, I believe it's on Hulu, and it stars George Clooney, so if you're having trouble finding it, look up George Clooney, see, okay, Catch-22, it's a miniseries, I think it's only 5 or 6 episodes. It's really good. It's got a lot of people, if you follow a lot of British actors, they got a lot of British people into it. Anyway. Corporations are now our new gods. Like I said, that unlimited resources and you're immortal. Isn't that the definition of a god? There are gods. And the President of the United States is our new king. They are. I mean, for fuck's sake, they just said Trump is immune for trying to stage a coup. What's to stop, hypothetically, any president from just declaring the election's gone? No, it was an official act. Well, what do we do about this? According to all of our elected leaders who are in a position to do something about this, not a damn thing. Nancy Pelosi, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, Dick Durbin. If you don't know who he is, he's the chair of the Senate Judiciary Committee. So he actually has a gavel and subpoena power and everything. And the new king of the United States, Joe Biden himself, all made statements yesterday, mostly on social media. King Biden went on national television and said a whole lot of nothing. None of these men and women in elected leadership with whom we place our trust, and one of them now imbued with special powers to instantly rectify the situation, said anything about what they would actually do with the limited time they have left before the election to actually do anything. No mention of the numerous political fixes for the out-of-control extremist Supreme Court. And before you come at me with your bullshit, the president is not a king, Kyle. He can't do anything. You forgetting two things. One, that's King Biden to you, serf. And two, King Biden himself created the Presidential Commission on the Supreme Court of the United States. Remember that? Happened in the first year of his presidency. King Biden himself ordered it via executive order in April of 2021. Its findings were released in December of 2021. What did it find? That the Supreme Court is partisan, corrupt, and crazy. What did it recommend? That we raise the court to 15 justices with 6 new vacancies for King Biden to nominate right the fuck away. Guess who controlled the House and Senate in 2021 and all of 2022? Democrats! Guess what the Democrats and King Biden did with that newfound professional commission's knowledge? Absolutely fucking nothing! Biden rejected it out of hand. It went away sleepily. It reared its head just a little bit after the Dobbs decision, but again, Biden did fuck all. The Democrats did nothing. They had Republican support in the Senate to codify Roe into law, and they still did nothing. Pelosi tanked her own bill intentionally, making it a poison pill to the GOP senators. Why would they do that? Because fundraising off of Roe being destroyed is easier than fixing it. Sadly, this appears to be the playbook for King Biden. We know what needs to be done. We can gripe that Manchin or Sinema or half a dozen other Democratic senators would have voted against such measures because it would have involved imploding the undemocratic filibuster rule, but these motherfuckers didn't even try. Yet last night, in the most spineless Democratic speech ever given, King Joseph Robinette Biden, the first of his name, declared he would not use any of these new powers granted to him, that he would not attempt to fix the problem through extraordinary means, that he would not try to do anything at all about it. He punted the entire problem onto the weight of the American people. We alone can save him from having to give his crown to our next king. Such weakness, such spinelessness, such monumental fucking ego. George Washington had people begging him to run for a third term, to be a king for life. Did he say to himself, well, it's the will of the people. I can't do a damn thing about it. When the South seceded from the Union, did Lincoln say, well, obviously states' rights to enslave Africans is a thing, and the Constitution doesn't specifically say what powers I have to maintain the Union? When the Supreme Court kept striking down FDR's New Deal provisions, did he just shrug his shoulders and ask the American people, look, I want to give you minimum wage, weekends off, and Social Security, but what are you going to do about these fucking guys? Vote blue no matter who! Or during the Cuban Missile Crisis, when it was famously a room filled with Cold War veterans angry and literally yelling at the president, John F. Kennedy, telling him to invade or even nuke Cuba, did John turn to his brother and say, shit, man, the whole room is against me. Guess we better start World War III so they can get what they want? I have never heard of such a spineless coward of a king in American history. If every other president had a piece of King Biden in them, this country would have fractured and broken generations ago. Maybe we could have been better off, rather than this manifest destiny of a hellscape we have created today. His entire message last night was, I won't kill you with this new power, and I won't kill my political opponent, but he surely would kill you and me if you don't vote for me in November. At least Mary Trump is selling a t-shirt on her podcast about it.